Chapter 6 of Puss in Boots Jr. and Tom Thumb, The Three Bears. "My dear Tom," said Puss Jr. one day toward evening, "I see a large forest in the distance, and as our road leads through it, I think it is too late for us to go farther. What have you to say?" "Nothing, my dear Puss Jr.," replied Tom Thumb. "I'm sure I don't know what to do, unless we turn about." "That will never do," said Puss. "Let's go ahead and chance it. I have my trusty sword, and you can hide in my pocket if danger threatens." "I hide in no one's pocket," replied Tom Thumb. "I will fight if needs be, but never hide." "Bravely said," cried Puss Jr., and then he and Tom entered the forest. But they had only gone a little way when they saw a great big bear, followed by a middling-sized bear and a little teeny-tiny bear. "They must be the three bears whom Goldilocks called on," whispered Tom Thumb. "Let's creep after them," said Puss Jr. "I'd like to see their queer little house, for I love the fairy story of Goldilocks." Well, after a while, the bears came to their house, and when they were all inside, Puss and Tom climbed up and looked in through the window. There sat the three bears at the supper table. All of a sudden, the great big bear, who had just taken up his great big spoon to taste his soup, saw Puss, and oh dear me, I don't know what would have happened if Puss hadn't called out in a deep voice, "Who has been tasting my soup?" just as the great big bear had done when he found out that little Goldilocks had tasted it. And then the great big bear let his spoon drop with a bang, and after that he laughed till the tears rolled down his cheeks. "So you have read about us," he said. "Yes, your Bear Highness," replied Puss Jr., "and now I would have the greater pleasure of making your acquaintance." "Come in, then," said the great big bear. "As you are on the window-sill, just jump in." Well, pretty soon Tom Thumb and the little teeny-tiny bear took a great fancy to each other, and they had a fine time playing together. But the middling-sized bear had to play all by himself, for the great big bear took a great big fancy to Puss in Boots Jr., as everybody does who reads these stories. End of Chapter 6.